You know, you see them everywhere, right? The all-seeing eye on a dollar bill, the square and compasses on old buildings. Masonic symbols are basically hiding in plain sight. And for centuries, they've sparked all kinds of curiosity and, let's be honest, a ton of conspiracy theories. But what do they actually mean? Well, it turns out the answer isn't some single big secret. It's actually a huge battle of ideas, a fight that happens right inside their own books.
So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive right into that battle. We'll journey through 4 totally distinct takes on these symbols. The mystical search for God within yourself, the practical guide to just being a good person, the super esoteric quest for magical transformation, and, yeah, the blistering critique that says it's all just ancient paganism in a new costume.
And that really gets us to the central puzzle of Freemasonry, doesn't it? For a group that's called a secret society, they are not very shy about putting their symbols out there. But the real secret might be that nobody can agree on what they mean. Not just us outsiders, but Masons themselves. So that's the big question for today. What do these symbols really mean? Is there one single hidden truth? Well, what we're going to see, pulling from their own key texts, is that there isn't one secret. Nope, there's a whole spectrum of competing truths.
Okay, let's kick things off with one of the deepest interpretations out there, from a writer in the early 20th century named W.L. Wilmshurst. Now, for this guy, Masonry wasn't just some social club or a charity group. He saw it as a spiritual life science, a serious system for changing who you are on the inside.
Now, you really got to pay attention to how Wilmshurst talks about initiation. To him, it is not just a ceremony with funny outfits. It's a literal regeneration, a full-on spiritual rebirth. It's about turning your back on the distractions of the material world to find this divine light, what he called the God within.
And this quote right here, it just nails his whole point. The lost secrets Masons are always talking about, it's not some secret password or a treasure map. According to Wilmshurst, the secret is you. It's that divine spark he believed is buried deep down in every single one of us, just waiting to be found again if we look inward.
All right, let's switch gears completely. We're going to come down from those mystical heights to something way more practical, way more grounded. This is the official stuff, the kind of teachings you'd find in texts like the Lectures of the 3 Degrees. And wow, the difference here is like night and day. On one side, you've got Wilmshurst seeing Masonry as this profound science for spiritual rebirth. On the other side, you have the official line. It's a peculiar system of morality. One is about becoming a god, the other is about becoming a good person. Totally different goals.
Let's use a classic symbol to see what this means in practice. Jacob's ladder, the one connecting earth to heaven. For a mystic like Wilmshurst, that ladder is all about the soul climbing up through higher and higher states of consciousness. But in the official lectures, it's a simple, straightforward lesson in virtue. The 3 main steps to get to heaven are just faith, hope, and charity. It's basically a moral roadmap.
In this author, John Sherer, he took that idea and just ran with it in his book, The Masonic Ladder. He laid out the entire system of Masonic degrees like it was a school curriculum, all clear and step by step. You start with faith as an apprentice, you add hope as a craftsman, and you get to charity as a master. Each new degree just adds another virtue to your moral tool belt.
But, the debate doesn't just stop with the mainstream Masons. What happens when these same symbols get into the hands of people on the fringes? Well, this is where the interpretations go from spiritual and moral to, downright magical, and for some, deeply heretical.
So, let me introduce you to the Comte de Saint-Germain. This guy was a super mysterious 18th century figure, part alchemist, part occultist, total adventurer. In his allegorical book, The Most Holy Trinisophia, he presents initiation not as a moral lesson, but as a literal alchemical process. This quote, it's not just pretty poetry. He's talking about a real physical and spiritual transformation, literally turning base matter and the human soul into spiritual gold.
His work is just filled with these wild hermetic images. A lion with a crown on its head? That's not just a royal animal. For him, it's the human will purified and cranked up to become pure spiritual aspiration. The serpent is the universal life force, the cosmic fire that makes everything tick. And the end game shown by this altar is the alchemical union of your body, your spirit, and this cosmic light to achieve real conscious immortality. I mean, we're talking about a completely different symbolic language here.
Okay, so from the magical, we're going to pivot hard to the confrontational. Let's look at the most hostile take of all, from a guy who knew the system inside and out and then turned on it with everything he had. A former Mason named Edmond Ronayne.
And here it is, the absolute core of Ronayne's argument, laid out plain and simple.
Freemasonry, he claimed, is not Christian. It's not even a new thing. It is, and this is his claim, a direct modern revival of ancient pagan sun worship. Specifically, those old mystery religions that worshipped gods like Baal and Osiris.
Nothing shows the massive gap between these worldviews better than the central Masonic story of Hiram Abiff. For the mystic Wilmshurst, Hiram's death is this beautiful allegory for killing your ego so your divine self can awaken. For the critic Ronayne, it's a cheap knockoff. He says it's just the thinly veiled copy of the myth of the sun god Osiris, whose death and rebirth represent the cycle of winter and spring. One sees a path to God, the other sees a pagan forgery. And Ronayne just goes through the Masonic symbols one by one, systematically relabeling every single one as a hidden pagan icon. I mean, look at how he breaks it down. That famous all-seeing eye? Not the god of the Bible, he says. That's the eye of the Egyptian god Osiris. That geometric symbol of a point inside a circle? To him, that's just ancient phallic sun worship. He doesn't leave a single stone unturned, arguing that every core symbol is basically a Trojan horse, smuggling paganism into the modern world.
So we have the mystic, the moralist, the magician, and the critic. How in the world are we supposed to make sense of these wildly conflicting views, all claiming to explain the exact same symbols? Let's put them all side by side and see what happens. This table really just lays the whole battle out in the open. Take one simple concept, like light. To Wilmshurst, it's divine consciousness. In the lectures, it's moral knowledge. For St. Germain, it's a tangible alchemical purity. And to Ronayne, it's a deceptive pagan light. It is the same word, but it's a key that opens doors to 4 completely different universes. And this, right here, reveals the central idea of this whole explainer. Maybe the great secret of Masonry isn't some fact hidden behind the symbols. Maybe the secret is that the symbols themselves are a kind of mirror, and they powerfully reflect the beliefs, the fears, and the hopes of whoever is looking into them.
The academic analysis of these texts that we've been looking at really says it perfectly. Every single one of these authors looked at the same pattern, the master's carpet, which is just the collection of Masonic symbols, and they each interpreted it using their own internal light. And in doing so, they presented a totally different version of the light to the world.
So here's the big takeaway. When we're talking about Masonic symbolism, maybe the meaning isn't actually in the symbol itself. It's created by the lens, whether that's a mystical, moral, magical, or critical lens that you happen to be using to look at it.
And that leaves us with one last question, and this one goes way beyond Masonry. For any powerful symbol out there, religious, political, whatever, where does its real meaning come from? Is it rooted in its original history, or is it found in the powerful, personal, and often conflicting meanings that we all bring to it today?